Chapter 2C, Castle of Dreams. After Ven had left the dwarf woodlands, but before he sat down in the enchanted dominion, he was traveling through the lanes between atop his Keyblade glider. He's leaving you behind, and by the time you catch up, he'll be a different person. The prediction of the boy whose name he didn't know ran through the back of his mind. Terra wouldn't change. It had to be some sort of mistake. He just wanted to see Terra as soon as possible so he could be totally sure. Ven saw a world with a beautiful castle ahead. What was Terra searching for on his journey through all these worlds? It's okay. Terra's not going to be anyone else. Ven whispered to reassure himself, then spurred his Keyblade on toward the world before him. As for where he landed... What's going on? Ven muttered as he surveyed the area. He didn't have a clue how he got here. What is this place? No, he knew where he was, more or less. This was the new world with the beautiful castle, at least as far as he could tell. But he couldn't see anything like a castle or figure out where he was relative to it. There were iron bars all around him, like he'd been trapped in some kind of cage. And when he peered through, he couldn't believe what was happening. What kind of world was this? Ven's gaze flicked upward as he grabbed the bars and hollered the one thing he did understand. Somebody tell me how I got so small! The name of this world was the Castle of Dreams. From the tiny window of her tiny room in the great mansion, a girl let out a heavy sigh and gazed wistfully at a big, beautiful castle. Her hair was a lovely shade of blonde, and her features were strong and determined. However, her hair was tied back in a simple style, just to keep it out of the way, and the clothing she wore was extremely plain. As she breathed another great sigh, she heard a voice calling out to her, though it was so small it would be inaudible to anyone who wasn't listening closely. Cinderella! Cinderella! Come on! Gotta hurry! A brown mouse wearing a red cap and orange clothes appeared before the girl called Cinderella. What's the matter, Jacques? You're awfully excited, Cinderella said kindly to the mouse. Somebody new in the house! Somebody I never saw before! Jack rapidly explained, scrambling atop Cinderella's knee. A new friend? Where is he? In a trap, down the stairs! Oh no! Placing Jacques on the floor, Cinderella leaped to her feet and rushed from the room. The little mouse scurried into a hole in the wall. Ven had no idea what to do inside the cage. He thought he was coming to a world with a gorgeous castle, so how did he end up behind bars? It was possible his cage was inside the castle, but outside it he saw a sofa for giants. At this point, it didn't matter whether this world was just big or he'd been shrunk. Ven just wanted out of here. As he gave a heavy sigh, he heard a door click open, alerting him that someone was coming this way. It was a girl. She was beautiful, if very, very large. Picking up Ven's cage, she peered in quietly. Don't be afraid, she said, opening the lid. Oh, how interesting. I've never seen a mouse like you before. Mouse? I'm a mouse? So is this cage a mousetrap? Jacques, you better explain things to him. The girl set the cage on the floor, and a mouse marched in through the open entrance. Now, look, little guy, take it easy. Nothing to worry about. We like you. Cinderella likes you too. She's nice, very nice. The mouse cheerfully explained. It sounded like the girl's name was Cinderella. Come on now, zug. The mouse began walking. As Ven followed, he stopped outside the cage and turned back to Ven. My name's Jacques. I'm Ventus. Call me Ven. It was the first time he'd ever introduced himself to a mouse. Okay, Ven, need something? Ask Jacques. This rosy-nosed mouse in his red cap and orange shirt didn't seem like a bad guy. Cinderella observed the two of them with a gentle expression. Cinderella! Just then, a woman's voice called her from far away. Oh, well, time to get to my chores. I'll see you in a little while, then, Cinderella said, then stood up and left the room. She appeared to be in a hurry. Wow, I guess she's got her hands full, Ven commented. Jacques shook his head dramatically. Yup, work. Stepmother keeps Cinderella busy all day. He seemed upset. She didn't seem to mind much, though. Ven was just calling it like he saw it. Cinderella didn't act angry when she was called, and she had left the room right away. No, not Cinderella. She works hard. She's got a dream, a big dream. The dream's gonna come true. A dream that would come true someday. Then remembered something Terra once said long ago. Being a Keyblade master is all I've dreamed about. Oh yeah, he had to find Terra. That sounds like somebody I know. Hey, maybe you can help me find him. His name's Terra. You seen him? Then asked Jock. No, never saw Terra before. Oh well, it was worth a shot. He'd picked up Terra's trail in Snow White's world, but now... Come on, follow me. You gotta see the house. Jacques began walking toward a small hole in the corner of the room, then followed him inside and found himself in the dingy, dusty space behind the wall. You live here? No, much nicer. Not perfect, but okay. Jacques said as he walked. What do you mean? Cinderella stays in the attic, but her stepmothers have pretty rooms. The slightly resentful Jacques jumped onto a fork stuck into the wall. The fork acted as a springboard, launching Jacques high up into the air to land on a beam jutting from the wall, then followed his lead. Why is that? Because Cinderella's stepmother is mean, very mean. All Lady Tremaine's fault. Jacques plunged on ahead, appearing very angered. She's being mistreated. Can't you help her? Jacques helps all the time. This way. Then hurried after Jacques through another hole in the corner of the wall. On the other side was a much, much smaller room than the one with the mousetrap. Where the previous room had nice wallpaper and carpeting, this one had nothing but the bare planks of its walls and floor. It was tidier, but that was it. Let's wait here for Cinderella to come back. Jacques hopped atop the chair and sat himself beside the window, then plopped down next to the mouse. A splendid castle rose in the distance beyond the window. Was that the castle I saw from the lanes between? What's that? Then asked Jacques. That's a palace, the king's palace. There's going to be a big ball there tonight. If every girl in the land was going, then... Is Cinderella going? I don't know. Just as Jacques was about to explain, the door opened, then turned around to see Cinderella, apparently finished with her chores. Hello, you two. Have you become friends already? Cinderella came up to the windowsill and smiled at them. Of course, Ven replied, exchanging a glance with Jacques and nodding his agreement. He hadn't been able to make any friends in the last world he visited, but Ven felt like Jacques and he had already reached that point. Things hadn't worked out so great with the dwarfs, and Snow White was... a maybe? Oh, that's wonderful, Cinderella said. She picked up a half-finished dress from a corner of the room and stuck it with marking pins, humming a tune. You sure do look happy, Cinderella, Ven remarked. She turned back with a smile. I'm going to the royal ball tonight. I guess dreams really do come true. Cinderella clasped her hands together over her chest with a rapt smile on her face. But just then, another call came. Cinderella! She turned to the door, looking the tiniest bit sad. My dress will have to wait. Cinderella! Cinderella! Now 2 new voices were shouting for her. All right, I'm coming. Cinderella replied as she left the room. Jacques gave a slight shake of his head as he watched her go. Poor Cinderella, she's not going to the ball. Why not? You'll see, they'll keep her busy. Work. She'll never get her dress done. So she needed a dress for the ball. Lady Tremaine sounded awful. That was just mean-spirited. Say, I got an idea! Jacques abruptly hopped up with a shout. Van, will you help me? With what? Ven folded his arms. Fixing Cinderella's dress for the ball. How? I've never made a dress before. Ven wanted to do something for Cinderella, but he wasn't sure what he could do. Don't worry, just get the pieces for the dress. I'll take care of the stitchery. Okay, let's do it. Ven finally smiled, happy to find a way to help Cinderella. What do I need to find? Let's scrounge up some white lace, white buttons, white ribbon, pink cloth, and pink thread. Roger! Ven jumped down from the window frame. He was pretty sure he could scrounge up those materials in that cluttered room. Ven, be careful of Lucifer! Jacques called out. Lucifer? Ven stopped and turned back to Jacques. Lucifer's a cat. He's mean, sneaky. He'll jump at you, bite at you. Gotcha. Ven dashed into the mouse hole. Passing behind the wall, Ven ran to the room from earlier. Luckily, there was no sign of any cats. He clambered onto a box and pulled down some white ribbon, then grabbed some white buttons from a table with a clock on it. The buttons were so big, Ven could barely manage to carry them, but he finally plucked them down atop the pink cloth on the floor along with the white ribbon. All he needed now were the lace and pink thread. Ven spotted the lace on the sofa, then found the pink thread on the bookshelf. That made everything Jacques asked him for. Placing the last 2 items on the pink cloth, Ven folded it into 4 sections and hefted it onto his back. I wonder if it'll fit through that hole. It was hard being small. If Ven were normal size, finding and carrying everything would have been so much easier. Ack! When he tried to walk through the mouse holes, a bundle got caught and pulled him back onto his rump. Guess that's not gonna work. Setting the bundle down, he squeezed it into the hole first, then went through himself afterward. You're back! Jacques came running up when Ven returned to the room carrying a big load. Did you get everything? You bet I did! Ven lowered the bundle and undid the pink cloth, and the material Jacques asked for came spilling out. Perfect, Ven! It just needs a pretty pearl. You can do it. We don't have much time, so I'll be right behind you. Leave it to me, Ven replied, then hurried through the wall to the previous room. It was swarming with unversed. Summoning his keyblade into his hand, Ven rushed toward them. Jacques said they were running out of time. No need to finish them all here. After all, you know what they say, discretion is the better part of valor, Ven cried. He leaped down from the wall and dashed into the big chamber. Whoa! And skidded to a halt again. In the center of the room was a large cat, Lucifer. The feline was snoring quietly, a small consolation perhaps, and the pearls lay scattered right in front of him. Don't wake up! Approaching Lucifer ever so stealthily, Ven lifted up a pearl about the same size as his head. But as he tried to quietly slip away, Lucifer sensed Ven tiptoeing behind him and raised his paw to play with his new prey. Look out! Suddenly, Ven heard Jacques' voice, and a ball of yarn bonked Lucifer on the head. Wow! Jacques hurled ball after ball of yarn and atop a shelf while Lucifer ran around the room yowling and trying to avoid them. Get away now! Jacques called. Ven took off with the pearl in his arms. However, the galloping cat slammed into the shelves, knocking Jacques off balance and sending him tumbling to the floor. Ow, wow! Growl! Lucifer made a pounce on Jacques, who was cradling his head. Ven swiftly darted in between them. Time to play, cat! Ven! Ven handed Jacques the pearl. Take it, Jacques! I'll hold him off! Run! Okay! Jacques ran off with the pearl in his arms. All right, bring it on! At Ven's call, Lucifer sprang up onto the shelves. As the boy moved to chase him down, the cat jumped. Whoa! Ven was squashed under Lucifer's massive body. When he swung his keyblade to get the cat off of him, Lucifer bounded away yet again, this time onto the sofa. He's gonna squish me again! Springing backward in the nick of time, Ven hopped aboard the cat's back when he landed. The animal couldn't escape this way, and Ven wouldn't get flattened either. Though Lucifer darted around doing his best to shake him off, Ven grabbed onto the fur of the cat's back and hunkered down. When Lucifer finally stopped, Ven brought his keyblade down onto the crown of the cat's head and jumped down from his back. Meow! Lucifer let out a screech and retreated. Jacques came running up as Ven caught his breath. Oh, that's a big thank you! No thanks needed. Ven would have been in real trouble if it weren't for Jacques' help. You saved me before, so I saved you. That's what friends do, right? Jacques grinned at Ven's words. Yep, Ven and Jacques are good friends. Now, let's get that dress finished. Ven and Jacques hustled back to Cinderella's room together. Back in her attic room, Cinderella gazed absent-mindedly through the window. She could see the castle glittering off in the distance. Oh well, what's a royal ball? After all, I suppose it would be frightfully dull and boring and completely wonderful. Cinderella sighed wearily. Her dress wouldn't be done in time. She'd had so much faith in her dream, but it was impossible after all. Cinderella! A voice called out for her. When she turned around, the partition opened, revealing a pink dress. Is that my dress? Yes, it's a present from us. Now you can have a dress for the ball. Ven and Jacques watched Cinderella proudly from in front of the gown. Kneeling, Cinderella took each one in hand and leaned in. Why, it's such a surprise. Hurry, time to go, Cinderella. Oh, thank you, she said, smiling. I wonder if Cinderella's dream will come true. Ven was gazing vacantly out the window at the castle with Jacques. Cinderella had put on her dress and left just moments ago. I hope so. What are your dreams, Ven? Huh? I wonder. Ven fell into thought at Jacques' question. Being a Keyblade master is all I've dreamed about. Terra had said that once. Giggling, Aqua had replied, Well, you're not the only one. And Terra had agreed. I know. You, me, and Ven all share the same dream. Back then, Ven hadn't really understood what Terra was saying. He'd never spared a thought for his own dreams before, or since. But, funny, I'd never really thought about it, at least until you asked me. My dream is to become a Keyblade master. Ven gripped his Keyblade in his hand. I hope your dream comes true, too. I just need to keep on believing, right? Right. The two of them gazed at the castle beyond the window once more. The ball would be in full swing right about now. I'd better be going. Ven stood up. Let's catch up again. We're friends now, after all. Yeah, Jacques agreed. Nodding at the little mouse, Ven put this world behind him. Cinderella hurried down the staircase of the mansion wearing the dress that Ven and Jacques had made. Her stepmother, Lady Tremaine, and her two stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, were about to leave the manor. Wait! Please wait for me. I have a dress! She called, beaming at the three of them. I don't want to go with her! Anastasia complained to Lady Tremaine as Cinderella caught her breath. Girls, please. After all, we did make a bargain. Didn't we, Cinderella? You did your chores, and you made your dress, and I never go back on my word. How very clever, these beads. They give it just the right touch. Don't you think so, Drizella? Lady Tremaine seemed to be praising her, and then Drizella marched briskly up to Cinderella, her eyes locked on the pearls on Cinderella's chest. No, I don't. I think she's... Why, you little thief! She screeched. They're my beads. Give them here. She ripped the pearls from the dress. Please stop, Cinderella cried out. But then Anastasia took hold of the ribbon and pulled. And look, that's my sash! This is my lace! Her two stepsisters took turns tearing off all the ornamentation sewn onto the dress until the beautiful garment was shredded. Satisfied at Cinderella's miserable condition, Lady Tremaine finally spoke up. Girls, that's quite enough. Hurry along now, both of you. With that, Cinderella's elder stepsisters walked away from her and left the mansion. Good night, said Lady Tremaine with finality, and she closed the door. As Cinderella stood abandoned, tears began to spill from her eyes. She had been so sure her dream would come true if she only believed. She dashed from the rear entrance of the manor to the fountain that reminded her of her father. Cinderella collapsed onto the rim of the fountain and quietly sobbed. Terra walked through the dusky forest. Still no sign of that big castle he'd spotted from the lanes between, surprisingly. What he came upon instead was a crying girl. Approaching her gingerly, Terra spoke to her. Is something wrong? It's just that my friends made me the most beautiful dress, but my stepmother and stepsisters ruined it, and I was so looking forward to the ball. The girl replied, still weeping. Unsure how to comfort a crying girl, Terra hesitated, then slowly said, Darkness always finds a way into a wounded heart. You have to be strong. Strength of heart will carry you through the hardest of trials. But Her voice trembled, and the girl, Cinderella, burst into tears again. How could he help cheer her up? Terra was about to try speaking to her again, when glimmering particles of light began to dance around them. Strength of heart is important, yes, but that's not all you need. Terra spun around at the voice, but found no one. There's nothing left to believe in. Nothing. Nothing, my dear. Oh, now, you don't really mean that. A white-haired woman in a periwinkle robe appeared before Cinderella, where she lay weeping. "Oh, but I do. It's just no use." "Nonsense, child. If you'd lost all your faith, I couldn't be here, and here I am," said the elderly woman, Cinderella's fairy godmother, taking her by the hand and helping her to her feet. The fairy godmother calmly cupped Cinderella's cheeks with both hands and continued, "Oh, come now, dry those tears. You can't go to the ball looking like that." "The ball? Oh, but I'm not." Cinderella looked at the tatters of her dress and lowered her head. "Of course you are, but we have to hurry, because even miracles take a little time. Now, what were those magic words? Oh yes, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo!" When the fairy godmother waved her white magic wand, light sprang from the tip and onto one of the pumpkins in the garden. The pumpkin rolled up to Cinderella, and the light engulfed it to transform it into a splendid horse-drawn carriage. "Oh!" Cinderella gasped in surprise. The fairy godmother waved her wand once more toward the girl herself. The sparkling glow wrapped around Cinderella's body and became a gorgeous white ball gown. "It's a beautiful dress! Why, it's like a dream come true!" Cinderella twirled around, positively bursting with joy. "Yes, my child, but like all dreams, well, I'm afraid this can't last forever. You'll only have till midnight, and then on the stroke of 12, the spell will be broken, and everything will be as it was before." "Yes, I understand." With a nod, Cinderella embraced her fairy godmother. She then lifted the skirt of her dress and climbed into the carriage. The beautiful girl was nearly glowing herself, a heart of exceptional light. Could she be one of the princesses of Heart, or had the woman's spell only allowed him to sense her radiance now? A glimmering castle sat austerely before them as they saw off Cinderella, who waved her hand graciously from the carriage. Terra turned back and asked the fairy godmother, "What did you do? I can hardly tell she's the same person." "Who are you?" the fairy godmother asked him back. "Terra." After he gave his name, the fairy godmother's face softened before she replied, "Terra, in your heart, do you believe that dreams can come true?" Of course he believed dreams could come true, but he also believed in the teachings of Master Ericus. He told it to her straight out. "I do, but I also believe you have to make an effort to make them come true." "Yes, of course, but sometimes just believing in dreams is easier said than done. Cinderella believes her dreams can come true. I wanted her to see that she was right." The fairy godmother's words turned Terra's attention toward the castle in the distance. "So that's what made her shine, faith in her heart that anything is possible." Come to think of it, Terra's dream hadn't come true. He'd failed to become a Keyblade Master, although Master Ericus had said this status might be reconsidered if he did well here. Would a man who stole Princess Aurora's heart receive a passing grade? He wasn't so sure. People had taught him about the strength of heart, the importance of believing in dreams, and the efforts needed to realize those dreams, yet he couldn't shake his uncertainty. He had failed to master his darkness because he was weak. Do I really have the faith to make my dream come true? Terra turned back to the fairy godmother and asked, "Where did she go?" "To the royal ball at the palace. Go, and when you see her dancing, you'll know that she believes, and that will help you believe too." She would help him believe. Nodding at the fairy godmother's words, Terra set off walking. Terra walked through the forest and made for the castle. Unverse darted here and there around its vestibule, but Terra cleaned them up and climbed the steps to the great foyer. There he found several more unversed, and a frightened Cinderella among them. "Not here too!" Leaping with Keyblade in hand, Terra disposed of the unversed. "I've met you before." Cinderella raised her terrified face. The unversed chose that moment to hem in Terra and Cinderella again. Placing himself in front of Cinderella to protect her, Terra did away with this fresh batch. He sensed even greater evil deeper within. Cinderella couldn't enter the castle now, not like this. "I'll take care of them. You wait right here." "May I please go with you? I so want to get to the ball," said Cinderella with a smile, but her words were full of unshakable determination. "All right, but stay behind me, or you'll get hurt." "I will." Cinderella nodded firmly. "You're not worried?" The words came out unbidden. Cinderella smiled kindly and said, "Didn't you tell me it was important to stay strong?" "I guess I did." Terra nodded and took another look at Cinderella. Maybe real strength wasn't about you, but about the strength of your wish. "So, you ready?" "Yes." Holding his keyblade, Terra entered the castle with Cinderella. As they made their way along the red-carpeted corridor, the Unversed attacked them in waves. Terra protected Cinderella as he dispatched them. Whenever Cinderella's white dress fluttered up, he could see her beautiful slippers. Those high heels would be hard to move fast in. But they'd never get anywhere at this rate. Taking Cinderella's hand so that she didn't trip, Terra said, "We have to run." The two of them then sprinted the rest of the way to the Great Hall. Cinderella flashed him a breathless smile. "Oh, thank you. She tilted her head with a slightly troubled expression. "Terra." Cinderella's name brightened when Terra caught on and gave his own name. "Thank you, Terra." Nodding in reply, Terra gestured toward the center of the hall, urging her onward. His job escorting her was done. Cinderella held her skirt and walked gracefully to the hall. A young man, perhaps Prince Charming himself, noticed her and took her by the hand. At a signal from a bearded man in the corner of the hall, the Grand Duke, a waltz began to play, and Cinderella and the prince started their dance. "Maybe just believing is enough," Terra mused, struck by Cinderella's beauty and joy as she danced. Meanwhile, as Cinderella basked in her dream, a trio of women whispered to one another off to the side. "Who is she, Mother? Do we know her?" The women, Cinderella's stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, were watching Cinderella and the prince dance with annoyance. "Well, the prince certainly seems to. I've never seen her before." "Nor I, but she certainly is. Wait, there is something familiar about her." Next to the conversing sisters, Lady Tremaine glowered at Cinderella. An extraordinarily disquieting air hung about them. That was when Terra spotted suspicious shadows on the balcony above the hall. Unversed. Here too? But why? At this rate, Cinderella's dream of the ball would be ruined. As Terra moved toward the balcony with his keyblade in hand, an enormous Unversed, the symphony master, appeared in the ballroom where Cinderella danced. "What?" The prince stood shielding Cinderella and faced down the symphony master. "Guards! Guards! Oh, where did they go?" shouted the Grand Duke. "I'll take care of this," Terra declared to Cinderella and the prince, and charged in. "We can trust him," Cinderella assured the prince as he led her away by the hand. The great Unverse attacked Terra, accompanied by 3 large musical instruments. He had to smash those before he went to the main body. One by one, Terra demolished the instruments and their unpleasant music. Like a conductor, the symphony master waved its arms to direct them, but Terra knocked away their attacks with his keyblade and silenced all 3. All that remained was the Unversed itself. Terra caught his breath and then leaped as high as he could. The blow was packing all the force he had, and the symphony master's head drooped. Terra took advantage of the opening to hit it as hard and as fast as he could, and the Unversed was no more. "Okay, that should do it." The Grand Duke crushed up to Terra after he dismissed his keyblade. "Thank you, you saved us all!" Despite his thanks, the Grand Duke's shoulders slumped in disappointment. "The guests were just starting to enjoy themselves." "Well, don't give up just yet." Paying no heed to the Grand Duke's lament, Terra peered farther into the hall. The Grand Duke turned around, following his lead. There, the prince and Cinderella were gazing into each other's eyes with rapt attention. "Tell me something. Have you always had a problem around here with those monsters?" Terra asked. The Grand Duke crossed his arms. "No, I believe they began to appear shortly after a boy in a mask arrived in our kingdom. Those who saw him said the monsters obeyed his every command." His expression darkened. "A boy in a mask. Do you know where he is now?" Terra pressed. This was the first he'd heard anything about a boy in a mask. Were the Unversed linked somehow to this masked youth? Or maybe to Master Xehanort? "Well, no, I don't believe anyone has seen him since then." "I see." As Terra pondered, a great bell rang. "Oh my goodness! It's midnight!" Cinderella pulled herself away from the prince in a panic. Now that she mentioned it, midnight was when the spell was supposed to come undone. "Yes, it is, but why?" Prince Charming tried to take her hand and stop her, But Cinderella hurried away. After a few steps, she turned around reluctantly. "Goodbye." She then ran off again. "Wait, come back, please come back." The prince chased after Cinderella, and the Grand Duke chased him in turn. "Mademoiselle! Señorita! Wait!" Cinderella ran through the corridor and down the stairway leading to the vestibule. One of her slippers came off on the stairway, but Cinderella didn't care, as long as the magic hadn't worn off, and hurried on toward the carriage. The Grand Duke picked up the slipper and joined the prince in watching her go. Both of them were stunned. Terra had no intention of pursuing this any further. Cinderella possessed the strength to believe in her dream. He was sure she would be fine if she had that much fortitude. When Terra walked down the corridor, relieved and ready to go, he spotted someone entering the castle and called out her name in surprise. "Aqua!" She looked up. Somehow, it felt like a very long time since they'd seen each other. "Terra!" She walked up to him. Without giving him time to enjoy their reunion, she told him something surprising. "Terra, Ven ran away from home." It was the first he'd heard of Ven setting off on a journey. "I think he left to go find you. Do you have any idea why?" she asked. Terra shook his head quietly. What could have made Ven leave? Why would he come after me? He reflected on what had happened when he set out. Actually, just before I left, he tried to tell me something. I should have listened to what he had to say. Oh, Ven had definitely wanted to say something back then, but Terra had been too focused on other things to listen. Aqua's expression was gloomy. She was probably worried sick about Ven, but she quickly rallied herself, lifted her face, and said, "So, did you manage to locate Master Xehanort?" "No, but it seems he is looking for pure hearts filled with light." Terra passed the information along to Aqua, omitting what he'd done to Princess Aurora. Maybe his inability to tell her was just his own weakness. He'd be fine as long as he had the strength to believe in his dreams, though. Terra had faith in himself, in Ven on his journey, and in Aqua, too. As he walked to the exit, he said, "All I can tell you is that a search hasn't taken him here." "All right, I'll stay and see if I can find more clues." "Okay, the prince is in the ballroom ahead. He might have some answers." "Thanks." Terra could tell that Aqua had started on her way again behind him. Terra stopped, then looked back and called out to her. "Aqua." She turned around. "You still have the same dream?" For just a moment, a quizzical expression appeared on Aqua's face before she nodded. "Well, yes. My dream was really our dream. It wasn't just mine." And that was why Terra wanted to express how he was feeling right then to Aqua. "There's this girl here. Her name is Cinderella. She made me realize how powerful it is just to believe. No matter how impossible things seem, a powerful enough dream will always be enough to light the darkness." Aqua smiled at Terra and nodded. "I'm glad to hear you say that." "I'll be okay. I'm sure of it." Terra started walking. There really was no chance of Terra falling to darkness. Aqua nodded once as she watched him leave. This was the first world she landed on after setting out from the land of departure, and it was fortunate that she'd run into him here. She was able to both tell him about Ven and confirm that he was carrying out his mission. The weakness of her own beliefs had led her to doubt Terra. Aqua was sure the problem was not with Terra, but in the frailty of her heart. She had to become stronger. Aqua's feet carried her to the great ballroom, where she passed by 3 women standing near the wall. The unusual air around them caused her breath to catch in her throat. It was murky and stagnant. Aqua had asked the bearded man who had come into the ballroom after her about the women. "Who are those ladies?" "Oh, if I recall completely, it is Lady Tremaine, and those are her daughters." Aqua turned back and eyed the woman from behind. They didn't even seem human, but something more malicious. Aqua began to walk after them, and then she was stopped. "You came back!" Aqua turned around at the voice to find a dignified youth dressed in white. Seeing Aqua's face, his expression fell. "My apologies. I was mistaken." The bearded man who had told her the name of Lady Tremaine, the Grand Duke, appeared with a small cushion bearing an even smaller slipper for a dainty foot. "Your Highness, I found this on the palace stairs." "A glass slipper?" This young man was apparently the prince of this kingdom. He took the slipper in hand and gave it a long look. "One dropped by a young lady, and I'll search far and wide to find the maiden to whom this belongs," said the Grand Duke. "You will?" The prince's face brightened. It seemed he sought the owner of this glass slipper. "Of course, your highness. After all, you have finally found someone whom you wish to marry. Upon hearing that happy news, your father, the king, has decreed that a quest shall begin immediately throughout the kingdom. And I will start with the closest residence, that of Lady Tremaine." The Grand Duke marched from the hall with the glass slipper held out before him. Aqua watched him go, thinking for a moment. Something was very wrong with Lady Tremaine and her daughters. She left the hall and went after the Grand Duke's carriage. The Grand Duke knocked on the door of a mansion located quite close to the castle. "You honor our humble home, my lord." Lady Tremaine opened the door. "Ahem, quite so. May I present my daughters, Drizella and Anastasia?" The lady invited the Grand Duke inside and closed the door. Aqua had followed the Grand Duke all the way here, and she gazed up at the mansion, trying to get a hint of what lay beyond its walls. A sinister air hung over the entire estate, an incontrovertibly negative presence. Tightening her grip on the keyblade, Aqua stepped forward. "Wait!" A voice suddenly called, and she turned back. There stood an elderly woman wearing light purple and an aura of light. Her expression was both friendly and gentle. "It's dangerous to fight the darkness with light, my dear," she warned. Aqua approached her. "Who are you?" "Cinderella's fairy godmother. I appear to those who believe that dreams come true." At the introduction of the woman, Aqua didn't quite understand what the fairy godmother was getting at, though. Isn't light supposed to vanquish the darkness? She wondered, and then asked the question aloud. "Then I am honored, but why would you advise me not to fight darkness with light?" The fairy godmother replied, gentle but admonishing. "Strong rays of sun create dark shadows. Sadly, Lady Tremaine and both her daughters are jealous of Cinderella's charm and beauty, qualities that appear to you as light. Jealousy is darkness. Light and dark go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other." Master Ericus had never taught them any of that. Darkness was darkness, and light was light. Darkness did lurk in everyone's heart, but it couldn't coexist with light. It couldn't be allowed to exist at all. The master had taught them, but this was nothing like what she'd learned. Light and darkness are closely linked? I don't understand. After thinking for a moment, Aqua asked the fairy godmother, "Then what should I do?" "It's quite simple, dear. One of Cinderella's friends is trying very hard to keep her light from fading. I want you to join little Jacques and help him." It seemed like a good idea to heed the words of the fairy godmother here. Furthermore, Aqua didn't think the kindly old woman was wrong. That didn't mean she believed Master Ericus's teachings were mistaken, just that she was beginning to consider that light and darkness were more complex than she thought. "I can do that." Aqua nodded. "You'll need a bit of my magic to help Jacques. If you would then, please." The fairy godmother smiled happily at Aqua's straightforward compliance, then twirled her magic wand. Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo! The sparkles from her wand swirled around Aqua, then shrank into a small orb of light and flew to the second floor of the house. A mouse wearing an orange shirt was dragging a big key across the middle of the room. Was this mouse Jacques? Aqua approached and spoke to him. "Are you okay?" Still tugging the key along, Jacques replied without even turning in Aqua's direction. "Cinderella's stepmother locked her in her room. I've got to let her out. I've got to save Cinderella." "Let me help you." "Oh, thank you." Jacques finally turned back to Aqua as she came near. "Oh, that's like Ven's!" Jacques exclaimed in surprise. Maybe he knew of Keyblades. "Did you ever meet Ven?" he asked in excitement. "I'm Aqua, but tell me how you know about Ven." "We're friends, good friends. Ven helped me fix Cinderella's dress." So Ven had been to this world. Slightly relieved, Aqua asked Jacques a question. "And where is he now?" "He's looking for a friend, another friend." "I see." Why exactly was Ven searching for Terra? Just then, they heard loud voices from the first floor. "I can't understand why. It always fit perfectly before." "Quite enough of this. The next young lady, please," the Grand Duke responded with undisguised irritation at the woman's excuse. "Oh no, hear that? We've got to hurry. Cinderella's got to try that slipper. Come on, hurry." Jacques began dragging the key again. When Aqua moved to help, Unversed appeared to block Jacques' path. No, we've got to hurry, Jacques pleaded, but with no reason to comply, more and more Unversed showed up to hem him in. It's all right, leave this to me, Jacques. Don't lose that key. Keyblade in hand, Aqua dashed into the midst of the Unversed. Why would Unversed manifest here? Maybe the malevolence of Lady Tremaine and her daughters was connected to the negative presence in some way. Aqua decimated the Unversed one after the other. Hurry, Jacques! Heartened by Aqua's call, the little mouse gave it his all. One Unversed leaped at him. Wah! Jacques clutched at his head, and Aqua leaped in front of him to defeat the Unversed. Not a moment too soon. Whew, wow! Enough about me. Hurry! Okay, thanks, Aqua. After watching Jacques run off to a hole in the wall with the key, Aqua planted herself in front of the remaining Unversed. All right, come and get me. They all lunged in unison, but Aqua's graceful fighting style made short work of them. Once the last Unversed had fallen, Aqua uneasily took a peek down at the first floor from the staircase. Both Anastasia and Drizella had finished trying the glass slipper. You're the only ladies here? There's no one else, Your Grace, Lady Tremaine replied to the Grand Duke's question. Come on, hurry, Jacques. With a big sigh, the Grand Duke prepared to leave the manor. Oh no, if I don't do something, they won't make it in time. As Aqua instinctively stepped forward, the spell wore off. In an instant, she was big again, and she promptly tumbled into the first floor hall. Ow, ow, ow! Huh? Lady Tremaine, her two daughters, and the Grand Duke all stared at Aqua. What do I do now? I should buy some time. Oh, would it be all right if I tried on the glass slipper? And that was what the flustered Aqua came up with. I met you at the palace. Unfortunately, you are not the young lady the prince is looking for. But I am a girl. I should at least be given a chance to try it on. The slipper obviously wouldn't fit, but Aqua pressed her case all the same. Who are you? What are you doing in my house? Lady Tremaine fixed Aqua with a baleful look. She's probably here to rob us. Mother, do something. Her two daughters loudly complained. That girl does not live here. I only have two daughters. I believed we're finished here, Your Grace, Lady Tremaine said to the Grand Duke, but it seemed he had something on his mind. Regardless, she means no harm. Here you are, my dear. Jacques, hurry! Aqua silently pleaded, and that was when it happened. Your Grace, please wait. May I try it on? Cinderella had finally appeared at the top of the stairs. However, Lady Tremaine persisted in her attempts to stop the Grand Duke. Pay no attention to her. She's just an imaginative child. But the Grand Duke shook his head. Madame, my orders were every maiden. You should let her go first. Aqua offered Cinderella her hand and led her to the chair. Thank you. Cinderella expressed her gratitude to Aqua. I actually want to thank you. For teaching Terra he needs to keep believing. Aqua whispered back. Cinderella was about to ask a question of her own when the Grand Duke suddenly fell. Lady Tremaine had tripped him. The glass slipper he'd been holding shattered to pieces. What will I do? The Grand Duke cried in a panic. Cinderella gave a small shake of her head. Oh, please, don't worry. You see, I have the other slipper. She revealed another glass slipper and handed it to the Duke. Oh! He accepted the slipper and placed it on Cinderella. Her foot fit perfectly. We did it! Cinderella and Aqua grinned at the voice they could hear from the top of the steps. Sure enough, there was Jacques. A perfect fit! I must inform the prince immediately. You will come with me, of course. I'd be happy to. Cinderella followed the Grand Duke as he walked out of the mansion with the glass slipper in hand. Aqua left behind them, feeling greatly relieved. The only ones inside were Lady Tremaine and her two daughters. It's not fair! She's a scullery maid! Mother, are you going to just let them leave? No. Cinderella will be put in her place. Ominous black flames rose from the trio. After seeing off the carriage with Cinderella and the Grand Duke aboard, Aqua headed toward where she would bid farewell to this world. But all of a sudden, she heard a scream from the direction of the carriage. What's that? Aqua rushed toward it just in time to encounter the Grand Duke running for his life. What happened? Where's Cinderella? She was attacked by a creature, a monster in the forest. A monster. Sprinting into the woods, Aqua spotted a gigantic pumpkin-shaped unversed writhing before a fallen Cinderella. As the unversed fired out a barrage of smaller pumpkins that burst all around her, Aqua ran over and helped Cinderella up. This is what happens when you go against my wishes! As Lady Tremaine cackled uproariously off to the side, one of the pumpkins fell on her and her daughters from above. Ah! The lady and her 2 daughters vanished with a scream. The darkness in their hearts overtook them. Go! Once she saw that Cinderella had escaped, Aqua brought her Keyblade to bear against the pumpkin unversed, the cursed coach. Though the cursed coach kept firing the same type of pumpkin bombs that did away with Lady Tremaine and her daughters, Aqua sent them flying back toward it and charged. Patiently deflecting the attacks of its vine-like arm that rained down from above, Aqua jumped and swung downward with her Keyblade. She landed once, then leaped again and chopped off the vine. Take that! With a mighty cleave of her Keyblade, the cursed coach vanished in a flash, leaving nothing but a large pumpkin rolling on the ground. Cinderella ran up the steps of the castle and met Prince Charming in an embrace. The fairy godmother appeared next to Aqua as she observed from afar. A pure heart filled with light. It's strange. The master taught me that darkness needs to be destroyed. But how, if not with light? Oh, my dear, you're too young to know. Experience more things and you'll find the answer. Just trust in your dreams. The fairy godmother explained. Aqua nodded. Her own answer, light and darkness, 2 polar opposites. Terra had said he learned how powerful it was to believe from Cinderella. What would Aqua learn from this world? What lessons would her journey have in store?